This video is dealing with unit analysis or dimensional analysis as it is known very often in textbooks. So both terms are used. Um, Analyzing the units is an important skill for a science class because first of all, it gives you the clue as to what unit you are dealing with. And then another thing that is very important is that, especially when you're taking a chemistry class, is when you know how to move from grams to moles to concentration and to all the other quantities that are used, especially in chemistry. However, the basic of the unit analysis is that you are multiplying with a ratio of 1 so that you are canceling the previous units. What do I mean by this? So let's suppose that we have 1.32 kilometers and we want to convert it into millimeters, let's say. Okay, so now when we are moving from kilometers to millimeters, what we are doing is we are having that as a scale. So we are moving to meters. Then in 1 kilometer, we will have 1,000 meters. And then from meters into centimeters. And in 1 meter, we will have 100 centimeters. And from centimeters into millimeters. And in 1 centimeter, we will have 10 millimeters. So when we are saying this, 1 kilometer, 1,000 meters, any of those conversions that we are using here, what do we mean is that we have one unit that we are dealing with. So a ratio of 1 is the same. 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters, or if we have 1,000 meters, then we have 1 kilometer. It's the same as saying that you have a meter stick and or a kilogram of apples. And then if I'm saying that I have a kilogram of apples and you're saying that actually you have 1,000 of grams of apples, then we are saying the same thing. We are referring to the same thing. So this is what it means, a ratio of 1. We'll choose to use one of those ratios, either ratio 1 or ratio 2, so that we are canceling the previous unit that was given or was left from the transformation. And we cancel if the units are in two different places. So if one unit is in the numerator, the other one has to be in the denominator. And if one is the denominator, the one that you are multiplying and want to cancel out, it should be in the numerator. So let's deal with this first, and then uh, see another one that is more a kind of a different one. So we'll start with what is given. Always we'll start with what is given. 1.32 kilometers. And then we will multiply by a ratio of 1. But now what do we have is in 1 kilometer we have 1,000 meters. Or if we have 1,000 meters, then we have 1 kilometer. The ratio that we are multiplying it by, they are both a ratio of 1, but the ratio that we are multiplying it by has to have the units that we want to cancel, kilometers in our case, in the opposite place. If kilometers are in numerator, then the one that you are multiplying by has to be in the denominator. Or if the units that you want to cancel are in the top of the fraction, then the one that you are multiplying by has to be at the bottom of the fraction. So in this case, it will be 1,000 meters is 1 kilometer. So kilometers and kilometers is cancelled out. And what do we have up to this point is whatever is in meters. The units are in meters because what is left here are meters. But we don't want this. We want it to be into millimeters. So then we have the step of centimeters. The ratio for the centimeters, or the ratio of 1 for the centimeters, is 1 meter has 100 centimeters. Or if we have 100 centimeters, then we have 1 meter. Again, we have ratio 1 and ratio 2. The ratio that we have to multiply by has to have the units that we want to cancel, meter in our case, on the opposite place or where that unit is. So the unit that we want to cancel is at the top of the fraction, okay? And we want to have it at the bottom so that we can cancel it out. So in this case, meters and meters are canceled out, and we are ending up with centimeters. So whatever number we have here will be on the units of centimeters. And again, we are not stopping here because we wanted to have them in millimeters. So then we use the ratio of 1 that deals with the units that we have here, centimeters, and the units that we want to move to. So 1 centimeter have 10 millimeters, or 10 millimeters is 1 centimeter. Again, we have two ratio 1 and ratio 2, which actually are ratio of 1. They are talking about the same thing, in this case, the same length. And we will multiply it by the ratio that the units that we want to cancel are in the opposite place where with the units that are at. So in this case will be ratio 2, which is 1 centimeter is 10 millimeters. So centimeters and centimeters is canceled out. And then what do we have after we complete this step here? The units that are left are in millimeters. And this is what we want it to be in millimeters. So now in terms of the numbers, what do we have is something like 1.32 kilometers is cancelled out times 1,000 meters is cancelled out times 100 centimeters is cancelled out and times 10, and the units are millimeters, over 1 times 1 times 1, which you may not write it. And as you enter this in your calculator, you will find 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 millimeters. And to express it into correct significant digit, what we will do is we'll move the decimal point as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this will be the same as saying 1.32 times 10 to the power of 6 millimeters. Let's see now what will be the conversion that we will use if we have, let's suppose, years to seconds. Okay, so let's say that we have to convert 5.30 years into seconds. If you want to find how many seconds a 5.30 years old kid have had in his life. So then we'll use the same logic. So we'll start with what is given, and then we'll move from years to days, and we'll consider that in a year there are 365 days, to hours, and then to seconds. You can move 2 minutes and 2 seconds, or 2 seconds straight. So we'll start with what is given. Always start with what is given. 5.30 years. The ratio of 1 for years is, in 1 year you have 365 days. Or if you have 365 days, then you had 1 year. Again, you have two ratio 1 and a ratio 2. We'll use the ratio that the units that we want to cancel is at the opposite place of the units on the ratio. Okay, so will be, since the years are at the top, then the years on the ratio should be at the bottom. 1 year, 365 days. So if the question was how many days, then you will be stopping here, because what it is given here as a result of calculation is the number of days. And then we'll move to the hours. Now the ratio that we have for hours is that in 1 day we have 24 hours, which when we express it as a ratio will be 24 hours is 1 day, or 1 day has 24 hours. So again, we have two ratio 1 and a ratio 2. And we will use the ratio so that the units that we want to cancel are in the opposite place with the units that are on the ratio. So days at what is given, what is left is at the top, then we will use the ratio that days are at the bottom. So this will be 1 day and 24 hours. So now if the question was asking as to how many hours, you will stop here, because the units that you are getting from those calculations are hours. Last step is the moving from hours to seconds. So you can go hours, minutes, seconds, or straight hours to seconds. So in 1 hour, and this is what I will do, we'll have 3,600 seconds, which expressed it in a ratio will be 3,600 seconds over 1 hour, or 1 hour over 3,600 seconds. And again, we have two ratios, ratio 1 and the ratio 2. and we will use the ratio that is at the opposite place with the unit, has the units that we want to cancel on the opposite place with the units that are present. So hours and hours will be here. Okay, and then 3600 seconds. And what do we have after we complete those calculations will be seconds. And this is what we wanted. We wanted to convert the 3.30 years into seconds. And that means that we will have as a calculations, we will have 5.30 times 365 times 24 times 3600, and the units are seconds, and they are all over 111, which doesn't really matter. We, even if we don't write that, it's okay. When you enter this in your calculator, you will have a value of 167,140,800 seconds. When we see this number, we notice that it has 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 significant digits, and we want to express it with 3 significant digits that the initial information was. So then what we will do is we will move the decimal point as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 steps right here, and we will have it as 1.67 times 10 to the power of 8 seconds. And this will be the final answer, that 5.30 years has in seconds, considering the significant digits.